Hello everyone, and welcome back to this 18th episode of Brilliancies with Mikhail. And today we are going to analyze the game played between Mikhail and Anthony Miles in Ports in 1981. Diving right away into the game, if you see at the position on the board, Tal's with the white pieces, and he has launched a fairly good position here. I will not say attacking position because yet the attack is yet to come, but Tal proves that even this position is much volatile. Tal has aligned this rook on the d file. The queen was on d8, and that is why Anthony Miles in the last move played queen to b6, getting away from the fire line of the rook. And if you see, there is a very common tactic that we see here that the knight is, defended only once. So if the bishop is removed from between, the rook will also attack the knight on d7. And that is what Tal exactly takes advantage of. So Tal plays here, bishop captures on its own with the check. And for any intermediate player or for any player who sees this position for the first time, it's a common sacrifice. I mean, a lot of times in even in the intermediate games, this sacrifice is used. But there's a lot to add to it here, and Tal shows it exactly why. First of all, this bishop can be recaptured in two different ways. If in the game, knight captures on its 7 was played, but what happens if king captures on its 7? So Tal's plan was to capture the knight with the rook. Rook captures on d7, and if knight captures, he will first get this knight's intermezzo queen h5 with a check. After this, you are going to get queen to f7 with a check, and then you can recapture on the d7, and that will be left with a completely shattered position for the black king, and also the material will be Tal is down in exchange after knight captures on d7, but at a great compensation for the black king's weakness. So, for example, if king to d7, this is even lost because now knight h5, the g7 pawn is under attack, and there is no way practically to defend it. If you go bishop f6, simply the d7 knight hangs twice. So something like this, and just knight captures here. The queen is under attack, this knight is under attack, and it's completely winning for Mikhail Tal. So you can't even defend the g7 pawn like this. And if you defend with the rook, something like rook to g8, you can very well take the knight, but there is a nice checkmating pattern. So queen to g6 with a check, king to h8, and knight to f7 with a nice little checkmate. So that means that this position is much riskier to play for the black pieces. So that was the plan. If king captures on h7 would have been played. In the game, Anthony prefers knight captures on h7, and now Tal plays rook captures on d7, grabbing up the knight, placing his rook in the nice little seventh rank, and also exerting pressure on the two bishops. And what you do here as Anthony, I mean, the main threat here is queen h5, which is deadly. You are attacking the f7 pawn, and after queen h5, defending the f7 pawn with g6 will be met with knight captures on g6 sacrifice. So Miles plays pawn to g6 first, preventing queen to h5, but now Tal plays another brilliant move. I mean, this is not a move that you all will, I'm sure, much more than 50-60% guys will miss this move, but you can pause the video here to find the next move that Mikhail Tal plays. And for those who want to enjoy the show, Tal plays the move pawn to b4. I'm sure you guys might have been tempted with knight captures on g6, but after f captures, the e6 pawn is unfortunately defended by the queen, so there is no queen captures on e6 with a check. So Tal plays pawn to b4, and this comes with a lot of poison. Of course, now if you play queen captures on b4, now knight captures on g6 is a threat because now you cannot capture because of queen captures on e6. Now the e7 piece falls and it's completely game over. I mean, you need not even capture on e7. There is bishop e5 check if the king goes to h8, and if king goes to f8, there is bishop h6 checkmate. So there's probably a forced checkmating sequence. So you can't take the pawn with the queen. And what happens if you capture with the pawn? I mean, if pawn captures on b4, simple bishop e3, and believe me or not, black is in terrible trouble. The queen has nowhere to go. I mean, the queen has to go to a6 or a5, completely away from the center of the board. And wherever the queen goes, for example, if queen to a6, there is this queen g4, knight g6 check, and yeah, there is no practical way. And this bishop e3 is just a mere catalyst to drive away the queen furthermore to a6 or a5. So yeah, that's basically a very I will say a very calm tactical move b4. And how do you respond to it? Well, In the game, Miles plays bishop to c8. He says, well, okay, I'm not going to react to this. I'm going to first eliminate your rook on d7. And now Tal continues the brilliant stuff. So you can, again, pause the video here. This is one of those moments in this video where you can actually pause and find the next move that Mikhail Tal plays. Yeah, and I'm sure you guys found it right. For those who have found it, you're a great observer of the position and you know which pieces you exactly need to continue the attack. And for those who want to enjoy the show, Tal plays pawn captures on c5. And he's basically asking a question to Miles. If you capture with the bishop, your pawn on f7 hangs, so you can't do that. If you capture with the queen, which was played in the game, now Tal plays knight to e4, keeping the rook hanging because the queen is much more worthier than the rook. So queen back to b6. That is the only move that keeps Anthony in the game. Of course, the game is clearly over now because there are a lot of pieces that are going to you know burst upon on the king. And now Tal plays the move queen to f3. Again, keeping the rook hanging. And well, this rook cannot be taken. If you kept play bishop captures on d7, simply bishop to e3. Again, a very calm tactical move attacking the queen and also the f7 pawn. And there is no way to defend both these things. If you move the queen, just queen captures on f7, king to h8, knight g6 will be a nice little checkmate. So you can't actually play that. So what do you do here? Well, yeah, in the game, Miles tries queen to b2, which is fairly okay. He's attacking the e5 knight, and now you cannot rush with bishop c1. For example, if bishop c1 here, just queen captures on e5, and all your dreams of capturing on f7 are shattered. But Tal doesn't hurry up with this. Tal plays the absolute brilliant move here again in a row. I think this is the third move that Tal plays as one of the best possible moves in the position. So you can pause the video while I give you a couple of seconds. Yeah. So for those who have spotted it, you are now a brilliant attacker, as I always say. And for those who want to enjoy the show, you can't play bishop c1 because knight on e5 is hanged. So Tal says, well, now there is no knight on e5. I've captured the pawn on f7. And now you cannot recapture because of bishop e5 check picks up the queen and it's a discovered check to the black king. So that's not possible. Well, you will say, okay, but then the rook is certainly hanging. You can capture the rook. Well, it turns out to be the answer to be no, because now comes bishop to e5. And now you have to capture queen captures on e5, because if you go something like queen b6, now knight h6 is just a checkmate. The bishop captures, the bishop governs all the dark squares, the queen covers the f file, and the knight delivers a nice little checkmate on the king on g8. So that cannot be played. So again, what do you do here? Uh, there's practically no way out of this. Black is completely hopeless. Miles tries queen to g7, the last hope to just keep the queen near to the black king. But Tal plays knight to h6 with a check. If you step in the f file, bishop e5 picks the queen. So king to h8, and yeah, when I was analyzing this game myself, I thought that I will play bishop e5 and this is game over. I mean, you're pinning the queen. You cannot of course take because of knight f7 check, king g7, knight captures on e5, and it's game over. I mean, this is coming, everything is falling apart here for black. But Tal certainly, I think he probably waited for this bishop e5 move. Sorry, bishop e5 move. He played rook to c7 first. I mean, there is no reason for it. Bishop e5 is the complete best move because you're just not in time to capture that 6 knight. The queen is pinned, and if you put anything in between, I'm just going to slaughter it up. You cannot take back with the bishop because of rook captures on g7. So maybe I will not say he missed it because Tal is just a master of tactics, so he cannot miss. Maybe he thought that Rook C7 is better than Bishop E5, so he played Rook C7, and he gives a chance for Miles to prevent Bishop E5, and Miles does play Rook to F8, pinning the Bishop. But now Tal says, well, Bishop E5 was never something that I had in my head. So Tal now says your rook on e8 has moved to f8, so leaving the defense of the e7 bishop, and that is what exactly I want. Rook captures on e7. And now after queen captures, which is almost the first move, you can try rook captures on f4, but now comes rook captures on g7. And unfortunately, you cannot take the queen on f3 because of rook g8 checkmate. Beautiful checkmate. There is no defense against it. So after queen captures on e7, just bishop e5 check, and the king is trapped. You can put the knight in between. I will just going to take the knight, and this is just game over. Your rook on e8 is hanging. You cannot recapture. This is a discovery coming up. that this is the worst possible position that anybody can get. I mean, there is nothing. You can play something like bishop to b7, but then just knight to f7 with a check, and practically you just don't need to even calculate. Something like queen h3 is also winning. Just queen h3 is a move that any maybe 2000 rated player can also find. Your queen is under attack, just moving it and threatening something, and you still cannot the knight. You cannot take the knight on f6 because just meets knight to f5 with a check. You can block with the queen, but then comes bishop to f6 with a check, and this is just game over. Because after this, I'm not going to trade off the queens, of course, but I'm going to play knight to e7 with a check. And now you have to either give up the queen with queen captures on e7, or you have to move the king to f8 or f7. Sorry, not that, this, and lose the queen on h7. So basically, this is game over at queen h3 itself because with 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9, and the queen itself 9 points, 18 points of material headed towards the black king. There's no, not even a single percent of chance of survival. So yeah, after this move, rook captures on e7. Anthony Miles resigned the game, and yeah, Tal was able to complete one of his I will say one more of his brilliant games in this great pattern. It would have been better if Tal would have played bishop e5. I mean, bishop e5 was my favorite move of this position. This is just crazy. This is a well-known tactic. The bishop pins the queen, and even if the bishop is hanging, you just take the knight and take a fork to the king and the queen. And after the king moves, you just recapture back. You cannot even recapture the rook because of queen f7 check, king g8, and knight captures on g6 checkmate. So yeah, that would have been better, but even what Tal played certainly fetched him the victory in a very simple manner. After rook c7, rook f8, and rook captures on e7, and black resigned the game. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on another game of Mikhail Tal against Anthony Miles, and we will be back with the 19th episode of Brilliancies with Mikhail Tal in the next, I will say, in the next week or so. And yeah, till then, do subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and stay tuned for this series.